My girlfriend is lying about being on a trip and gives me an Oscar-worthy performance in deflecting and gaslighting. So I snapped and broke up with her for real. My girlfriend Amy and I went on our first date around 1.5 years ago, took things slowly while being exclusive, and have been officially dating for 1 year. Overall the relationship has been pretty good, minus some small hiccups in communication that she chalks up to her neurodivergence. Amy isn't great with texting, which I thought was a red flag at first until I found out she's like that with almost everyone. Most of her friends and family included. To give a little background, Amy and a few of her girlfriends go to this conference a few states over twice per year. It's a 2-day event, which they usually turn into a 5-day vacation because it requires a flight and hotel and is in a nice city. Amy's friend group is typically very active on social media during these trips, posting on their Instagram story during all points, flights, conference, beach, etc. This weekend was supposed to be their 3rd time attending. Amy and her friends have had their flights and hotels booked for a few months, confirmed by some of their posts on social media being excited about having everything booked. Unfortunately, the conference was cancelled but they already booked everything, so they decided to still enjoy a vacation. My girlfriend and I had a date night last weekend. She was telling me how excited she was for her trip. All was good, but at the end of the date, I caught a glimpse of Amy's phone. She was on her airline app and it looked like she was reading cancellation policies. We had a long day and I was tired and felt like I was snooping/being nosy, so I didn't say anything. During the week, I asked Amy to hang out the day before the flight, emphasizing that I wanted to see her before her trip. Unfortunately, she was meeting up with her group of coworker friends, so she couldn't. No worries. The morning of her flight I texted her wishing her a safe flight and a happy trip, and she liked my message. We haven't talked since. As I said, she's not a big texter, so we usually don't text much besides planning dates and in emergencies. I figured she was on her trip, so I haven't texted to plan a date. Now onto the meat of the issue. Amy is now supposed to be a few days into her trip and I noticed none of her friends were posting on Instagram. I thought that was weird because they usually post a lot, but I shrugged it off. That was until tonight. Amy started posting videos of her at a show. It looked fun and I didn't think twice about it. Until the end, where the show host called out, "Thank you," and then the name of the major city nearby where we live, approximately a 30-minute drive. I looked up the name of the show, and of course, it was in that nearby city this weekend, meaning she wasn't on that vacation after all, and never thought to say anything to me about it. I did a little snooping on Venmo and found out that over 2 weeks ago Amy's friend paid her back the money that Amy had sent her for the hotel and car rental. So she's known the trip was cancelled for 2 weeks and hasn't said anything to me every time I brought it up. Where do I go from here? I feel like I'm suddenly spiraling, going crazy overthinking everything lately to see if I've missed any signs. I've already started assuming the worst and I'm panicking. I'm out of town for the weekend and I feel like this has totally thrown off my trip. Is this worth a conversation or is the relationship already over? Is there any reason she would have not said something by now? Even if she tells me the trip was cancelled right when I see her before I confront her, would that still justify not telling me until after the trip? Edit. Her best friend just uploaded a picture of them together during the show, so I know she wasn't there with some other guy. But that doesn't explain the lying. Update. 2.5 weeks later. So here we are. Almost a month later. I was wrecked and spiraling these past few weeks, and after being together for almost 2 years I was too panicked to reach out and ask to see her. During the 3 weeks since her planned trip, she hasn't reached out once to me. That was until yesterday when she casually reached out like we hadn't just ignored each other for 3 weeks and asked to see a movie. So I just finally saw her tonight. In the car I asked about her trip. Her facial response was really weird, like she got caught off guard. I'm guessing she was expecting me to forget about it after a few weeks of not seeing her. She just said it was okay, which instantly confirmed my suspicions. I asked her what she had done and she said she went to that conference one day, which as I said in my last post was cancelled, and went to a show before returning home the day after I made my original post. I asked her which and she claimed the show that was in our local city. I was driving at the time and it was dark out, so I waited to confront her as I didn't want to get emotional and endanger us. I confronted her for lying about the trip, doubling down and lying about the conference, and tripling down to lie about the show. Her immediate response was to start deflecting, saying that if this is making me upset to imagine how she felt that her conference and trip were cancelled. She said how she was so heartbroken and upset that the conference was cancelled, which was cancelled 5 weeks ago, that she didn't want to talk about it. She kept saying that she doesn't owe it to me or anybody else to tell us about her business and what's going on in her life. I of course called her out for gaslighting me, to which her response was that she was not gaslighting me. Kind of ironic, I guess. When I talked about how it made me feel and that she damaged my trust in her, she again tried to belittle my feelings by rolling her eyes and saying that it was only a show. This conversation ended up opening to a much bigger issue in our relationship that I didn't mention in my last post. Generally, Amy treated me really poorly throughout the relationship. She was hot and cold, put zero effort into communication, and it never felt like she made a priority. She'd give me zero affection or compliments despite drooling and crushing over male celebrities all day. She's made little effort to connect me and her family and friends. We've talked about all of this a few times now. She would always say she was overwhelmed with some new excuse and promise it would get better. I would cave in and agree to work through things. As expected, things never got better. This time was the same, where she blamed a new job for being overwhelmed and that's why she's been so distant. But this time was different. I guess her blatant lie to my face and your guys' comments in the back of my mind gave me power to put my foot down. I broke up with her then and there. She kept begging me for one more chance, to think on it for a few days, that she cares about me and didn't intend to hurt me, all that nonsense. But the whole time I was the one bawling, and there wasn't a tear on her face. It really broke my heart ending things, but I've also really grown to hate myself for putting up with her treatment for so long. I'm hurting a lot right now, and I'm scared to get back into the dating world after 2 years of aging and some weight gain. I really loved her with every bit of my heart and I'm terrified to picture my life without her. I really want to call her up and give her one final chance to get things right, but I know I'd never forgive myself if she didn't change and broke my heart again.